Here's how you number a scale on the bass guitar so that you can play using the number system. So before we begin, I have to show you the correct view of how the fretboard will look. So the image of the fretboard is as if you have your bass guitar sitting on your lap and you're looking down on it as this picture shows. Okay? So with that, let's put up the fretboard. Here we go. So that is the bass fretboard. Now on bass, unlike the guitar, it doesn't matter how many strings you have. Some of you have a 4-string bass, some may have a 5-string, some may have a 6 or 9 or 10, whatever. But as long as it's a bass guitar, it will be exactly the same no matter which string you start on, okay? So I'm gonna go number these for you, and this is probably the easiest way and absolutely the most useful. So let's start in the key of, let's say, G, okay? So remember, 1 is always the same note as the key. So I'm going to put a dot here. That's the G note. And that will also be the 1. And then what you do is you skip a fret on the same string. You go to the next one. That will be 2. Then you do it again. You skip a fret and you go to the next fret on the same string. That's 3. So you have 1, 2, 3, neatly organized with a fret in between. And then for 4, you go to the next string. And once again, it doesn't matter. I'm giving you this example on the E and A string. It could be anywhere. And I'll give you an example after this. That is the 4, note 4. Then on that string, you skip a fret, go to the next fret, that's a 5. Same thing, skip a fret, go to the next fret, that's a 6. So now as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very neatly organized, super easy to remember. Now, one of the things that I moved away from is I used to teach this where it's all within like 4 frets so that you don't have to move your hand and you just assign a different number to play the different notes. Well, I've changed kind of my mind in the best way to learn how to play. And so now you're going to actually have to move your hand around. So it doesn't have to be played with a certain finger. In fact, you can play all of these with just, your index finger fretting as long as you move them around. And that way, I think it actually helps you visualize the fretboard and get around a little easier. Okay, we're only missing 1 note of the scale, which is a 7. Now, for me, I think the best way to learn where the 7 goes, rather than counting up here, or sometimes we used to go here on the next string, I want to keep everything on 1 string because later on it will help you to find other notes easier. So a 7, instead of counting up, from the 1, you just count down and you go the opposite way, 1 fret. And so wherever there is a 1, you just go on the same string down 1 fret, and that's where 7 will be. Okay? So remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very neatly organized. And then 7, you just go from 1 and go down a fret. I'll give you one more quick example. Let's say we're in a different key. So let's pick a different key. Let's pick the key of, and I'll pick a different color. Let's pick a key that you might not ever play in, which is a D flat. Let's say key of D flat. All you need to do is find a D flat note, which there's a couple, but for this example, I'll pick right here. Here's a D. You flat it. This is a D flat. And remember, the key is always 1. So there's 1. Now you're going to draw that exact same scale that you played down here, which was Remember, skip, skip. Very easy to remember this pattern. So that's 2, that's 3. You go to the next string, and then you're going to basically do the same thing. It's 4, 5, 6, 7, remember, is 1 fret below the 1. So there you go.